What's going on YouTube? So as many of you may know, we recently purchased a all-new 2026 Toyota RAV4 as a long-term tester for our channel. But the Honda CR-V remains a very strong competitor to the RAV4. So after spending a week with this, we want to know, should we have purchased this instead? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Let's get started with a quick spec dump. So under the hood of this CR-V, we have the two-motor hybrid system. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder with 2 electric motors to make 204 horsepower. Power is routed to the ground via a direct drive system and available all-wheel drive. The combined fuel economy is 37 mpg.
Now, the base price of the CR-V this year is around $31,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any vehicle, we'd encourage you to check out carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, we lived with this CR-V for a full week, so we have things to share, such as our real-world experience fuel economy. But first of all, we need to go ahead and shut up the hood and take a look at the exterior and inside.
Now, getting started with the exterior part of this review, Honda did refresh the CR-V for 2026. It didn't really impact the front end design per se, but you'll continue to find up in the front the gloss black finish with the large grille. It is different, of course, than the RAV4, which comes with more of that body color finish. A lot of people seem to prefer the actual more distinguished grille shape. Down at the bottom, we have some sport touring design elements, and then let's talk about the headlights. These are full LED across the lineup. These are reflector LEDs, and then you have your daytime running light and turn signal indicator at the top. There are no fog lamps. As far as the wheels are concerned, we have options between 17 and 19-inch alloys. The Sport Touring gets the 19-inch gloss black alloy. I think it looks quite nice. Also, Honda doesn't do a ton of cladding, just a little bit of cladding around the wheel arches here and down at the bottom part of the body. Moving up here to the mirrors, we have a gloss black finish for the Sport Touring. And as far as the feature set, you have heating and blind spot monitoring on the EX trim and above.
Now, at the side of the CR-V, overall vehicle length is around 185 inches, which does mean compared to our RAV4, it is about 4 inches longer, so pretty significantly larger, and we'll talk about interior space a little bit later on in this review. We have new blacked out window surrounds for all the hybrids for 2026, as well as the roof rails up here at the top. You also get a couple new colors with the refresh, including that really cool ash green metallic. Now, as we head around to the rear design, you have that very classy and elegant look that the CR-V has always been known for. So with your taillights, you have that signature CR-V shape. They're kind of vertically mounted, and they're also going to be partially LED. That includes your brake light, your LED reverse light, but you do still have an incandescent turn signal indicator. As far as other design touches, we have the spoiler right here. We have an exposed rear wiper, some all-wheel drive branding, new blacked out badging this year, and then in the lower fascia area, I like the fact that we have exposed exhaust outlets. That's something our RAV4 does not have. Your tow capacity ranges from 1,500 pounds to 1,000 pounds if you choose the hybrid. But what about your safety systems? Both Honda and Toyota do a great job of including all of those as standard equipment. That will be the case for the CR-V. Now we even include things like a traffic jam assist with your adaptive cruise control. All of those systems did work quite well this week. But we have quite a few impressions to share about the inside of the CR-V. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Let's head to the inside. First, here's our key fob, typical Honda key fob. It's a small and lightweight fob. You have smart entry and remote start built into the fob for the EX trim and above. That means you can just grab behind the handle and that will unlock the door. And then let's look inside at the cabin, and we'll start by talking about the seats. So of course, as you expect for this segment, lower end examples will come with cloth seating, and then your upper end examples, those will actually come with real leather seats. That's something that does distinguish from rivals such as the RAV4, which have a Softex faux leather. These are genuine leather seats on the EXL trim and above. We of course have the Sport Touring. We've got the two-tone finish dark color, and then the light gray in the center section. We have both also thought that the seats themselves were a little bit more comfortable than what we have in our RAV4. The seat adjustments are pretty much equivalent. You've got 8-way power adjustment plus your 2-way lumbar support, and then you also get memory seats with EXL trim and above. Let's climb inside. Now, when you close up the door, you get the little animation on the screen there. And let's talk about the overall cabin materials. So throughout the week, we all agreed that the CR-V does have more of a solid build quality than in our RAV4, which has kind of gone to cheaper materials with the new generation. So you'll see over here on the door trim, we have leatherette, soft touch plastic through here, and then a gloss black trim in the middle. The entire dash is a soft touch plastic instead of hard touch. You have more gloss black through here. It is going to be hard touch along the console though, where your knee will bump against, but the overall build quality in here, again, very solid. Fit and finish as well is really precise as we expect from Honda. And let's fire it up with the push button start. And let's jump into some individual details. We'll start with the gauge cluster. If you get the Trail Sport or above, you get the 10.2-inch digital gauge cluster. It is customizable with a few different types of designs and information. There is no head-up display. And then as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have the leather-wrapped steering wheel. Heating here on the top trim. It's manual, tilt, and telescoping. We also will get rain-sensing wipers. And then let's turn over here to interior storage. Of course, you buy a vehicle like this, you want it to be practical in your everyday life. So let's look at the center console, which Honda advertises as one of the biggest in the segment. Indeed, when we put the donuts inside, that absolutely confirms it. 17 donuts, which is very impressive for this type of vehicle. Now in front of that, you got your 2 cup holders, and you have another large storage cubby with a standard wireless phone charging pad. One thing though this does miss versus a RAV4 is kind of utilizing this area over here for a passenger storage shelf or some additional storage. Now, moving to the shifter, traditional style, pull back for drive. There are paddles on the steering wheel as well. And then we go into reverse. Here is our standard backup camera. It's got active trajectory. We also have parking sensors, but no 360-degree camera system. That remains something that's a big consideration if that's something you want. RAV4 and many, many other rivals offer a 360 camera. Behind that, you have your electronic parking brake with your brake hold and your drive mode controller. Now, above here, you'll find your dual zone automatic climate controls. Compared to the RAV4, none of the controls are inside of a touchscreen, so it's all going to be physical here. These are also very high quality knobs, so we certainly enjoy that. You have heated seats on most models, but you do not have seat ventilation, another thing that most of the rivals, including the RAV4, do offer. Now, another knob you'll come across is the volume knob for the audio system. This top level model has the 12-speaker Bose premium sound system. So if you want, grab some headphones and listen with us for a quick sample. Yeah, pretty nice. This sound system certainly fills up the cabin well, and it has plenty of bass if that's what you like. Now, let's take a look now at the main infotainment system. This is the 9-inch display, which became standard for the 2026 model year. It is going to be a little bit smaller than the maximum size that you can get in something like a RAV4 or many of the rivals. Now, obviously, we lived with this, and we also live with a RAV4. So in terms of using the actual technology, we have had a better experience with this. Kind of previewing an upcoming 6-month update. We'll talk more about it, but we have been having some technical issues with our RAV4 technology. So this does work a little bit better, although it's not exactly, state of the art or anything. It does have Google apps built in, so you have native Google Maps and things like that, as well as wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Up top, you have an auto-dimming mirror. And then lastly here, I can slide back the sunroof. Honda includes this on pretty much all versions of the CR-V, but you cannot get a panoramic sunroof.
So let's go ahead and check out the rear seats. Before I do that, I do want to point out that the rear doors on the CR-V open at like 90 degrees. That is a really nice touch, especially I'm a new parent myself, and loading in car seats and all of that is a lot easier when you have the wide opening door. It's a lot better than our RAV4, and I can speak from personal experience on that. Now let's go ahead and start by talking about the rear specs. So what we're looking at in terms of legroom is 41 inches of legroom, 38 inches of headroom. Those are definitely going to be really good numbers for the segment. It's actually pretty much class leading, and it is larger than the new RAV4. Now, I brought along the official Car Confections ruler. Now, the reason I do that is to get a realistic knee room figure. Behind Drew's 5'8" sitting position, and I'm 5'9" for reference, we are looking at 10 inches of knee space. That is certainly a very good figure. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of these seats. And speaking of the rear seats, these are really nice and plush. They have a lot of give to them. And they also have 8 modes of recline. That's one of the great things about the CR-V, is that you have a super reclining seat. So I'll just go ahead and show you like the full like lean back. Really comfortable rear seat. Now, I can fold down the center armrest. There's 2 cup holders inside. And I'm not done yet when it comes to features, because we have 2 vents right here, 2 USB ports down below, although you do not have heated back seats available on the CR-V. Now, looking at the door trim, it is going to be cheaper than in the front. You have a hard touch on the upper part and in the middle section. However, we do still have a padded armrest, and then down in the very bottom, you do have some bottle storage. Walking up to the tailgate, if you want a power one, you have to choose the EXL trim level and above. The Sport Touring additionally throws in the hands-free kick ability. And what about overall cargo capacity? Well, we're sitting at 39 cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats as a maximum. With the seats folded down, you're looking at 76 cubic feet of cargo capacity. For those of you that are familiar with this segment of vehicle, that is a ton of space. It is still the class leader when it comes to cargo capacity, and does indeed surpass the RAV4 by about 7 cubic feet overall. Now, speaking of all the rivals that you could be looking at compared to this CR-V, we'd encourage you to check out carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. This compact SUV segment is super competitive, and we've gone through and ranked each option in the segment in individual categories, things like cargo capacity, interior luxury, technology, powertrain choices, and value. And you can sort the chart based on the categories that are most important to you to really make an informed buying decision. We definitely recommend you check that out to really make sure you're getting the best car in this very hot competitive segment, carconfections.com. Now, as far as the seats themselves, there are not any handles to fold them from the cargo area, but they do fold 60-40 split. You can kind of just reach up here and try and fold them down, but the problem with that is that it is a little bit hard to do, especially if you're, not super tall. You may have problems doing that. Actually was able to get that folded down. They don't fold completely flat with the floor, but it's not too big of a hump right there. And let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. So as far as cargo length, we're looking at 77 inches behind Drew's 5'8" driving position. From behind the second row of seats, you can expect about 35 inches of length. As far as the opening, that comes in at 44 inches wide, and the height, really quite good, 32 inches tall, and it gets actually quite a bit taller, about 35 inches right behind that initial lip. And then as far as the load-in height, also very good, 28 inches, so it's a very low load-in height, so loading things in is really nice and easy. There is no spare tire if you opt for a hybrid version. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Honda CR-V, and this test drive we'll be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We also need to talk about our real-world fuel economy, but before we get to that, let's go ahead and get a hard acceleration.
And that takes us to 60 miles per hour with the CR-V. Pretty good. Now, we talked a little bit about this at the spec dump, but CR-V remains available as a gas option or a hybrid. But if you get any of the upper trims, you're going to have the hybrid. It is exclusive. The 2-motor hybrid system is comprised of 2 electric motors, of course, and a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine to make 204 horsepower and 246 pound-feet of torque. Again, those are nice power figures. That's definitely going to be a big upgrade from the standard gas option, and this is definitely our preferred powertrain choice in the CR-V lineup.
Yeah, we've had the privilege of driving and experiencing multiple hybrids, multiple gas options as well. The hybrid is definitely better in our books. It really does a great job of just giving you that all-electric torque off the line. It makes it feel nice and refined, and also I like the fact that it's a pretty quiet overall hybrid experience. So even under full throttle acceleration like that, the engine doesn't sound too strained or anything. Compared to the RAV4 that we own, I will say that this engine is quite a bit quieter, which I appreciate overall, especially in the hard accelerations.
Right, and when it comes to the handoff between, using the gas engine and the electric motors, that's super smooth with Honda. I actually think that they might do it just a little bit better than even Toyota, which is really fantastic as well.
Yeah, and as far as the 0 to 60, it is rated at around 7.1 seconds to 60 miles an hour. That is pretty good for this segment of vehicle, actually. If you choose the standard gas option, so that's going to be on your lower trim levels that will have that. That's going to be a 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder, 190 horsepower, 179 pound-feet of torque, and it goes 0 to 60 a second faster at around 8.1 seconds for those models. So, like I said, you can definitely feel that speed difference when you choose the hybrid variant. And, of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't say something about the RAV4 being hybrid exclusive, so that is one thing to consider. If you get a lower end RAV4 versus a lower end CRV, you get the hybrid system standard on the RAV, and you're gonna have to pay extra to get a higher trim level on the CRV.
Now let's talk about the rest of the powertrains. So if you get the 1.5, that comes with a conventional CVT. If you get the hybrid, the structure of Honda's hybrid system means that the electric motors directly are powering the vehicle for the majority of your driving, and you do have a shift simulation as well.
And as far as how power is routed to the ground, you have standard front-wheel drive or optional all-wheel drive. Only on the Trail Sport and the Sport Touring do you get all-wheel drive as standard, though. And now we're on our designated strip of road to talk about ride quality. And I think this is really an area that I want to camp out here for a second, because the CRV has really fantastic ride. It does a great job of balancing the ride and handling experience. You hit a bump in the road, it does a good job of soaking things up. We already mentioned that we find these seats to be quite comfortable throughout the cabin. And while it's not maybe the most comfortable option in the segment, it's close to one of the most comfortable, but it does also, have a really good balance between that and the driving dynamics, which I think is something that Honda does so well in really almost all of their vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, we could just go ahead and mention that they just have a little bit of a sporty character that some of the rivals are certainly missing. The steering, for example, is very responsive and accurate. It's not overly heavy or anything, but you can see as soon as you turn off center, nice steering response, and also just the body roll is more controlled than a lot of the competition.
All right, so we are speeding up to 55 miles per hour so we can get our sound level reading. We have it on fan speed 1 right now, so we'll see how quiet the CRV is. 55.6 decibels is what we are sitting at, and we don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to the competition. We have posted all of those rivals at carconfections.com/sound level readings. And looking at those rivals, that does mean that it's going to be, pretty much in the middle of the segment. We've looked at numerous rivals. And I do want to point out a couple things about the CRV. So we've tested out variety of trim levels and all that. We've talked about that a little bit earlier, but the highest end Sport Touring does include some extra sound deadening. We see that across the entire Honda lineup. So if you get a Sport Touring model, it's going to be right around the middle of the segment when it comes to sound level. If you get a lower end example like a LX or something like that, expect to have one of the loudest cabins in the segment. I kind of wish that it was a little bit quieter across the entire spectrum, maybe the LX being on the middle of the segment and the Sport Touring being on the quieter end, but overall it's going to be a decently quiet cabin, especially if you choose a higher end example. But this is the hybrid variant after all, so let's talk about fuel economy. So what we're sitting at is 40 in the city, 34 on the highway, 37 MPG combined is the rating for this one with all-wheel drive. You can get a front-wheel drive version that gets up to 40 miles per gallon combined, and then the Trail Sport does reduce it down to about 35 if that's the trim level you're looking to buy. Compared to the gasoline variants, those are 29 and 30 MPG, so it's a pretty significant increase as compared to those gasoline equivalents. Now, what have we been getting in this sport touring model this week? Well, we drove at 166 miles this week, and we were sitting at an average of 38.4 miles per gallon, and that was both mixed city and highway driving. So that's actually a little bit above what the EPA rating is for this vehicle. It's rated at 37 combined, so we've got 1.4 mpg better across that 166 miles. Overall, I think that's pretty solid fuel economy. I do, of course, want to point out that the RAV4 does get pretty significantly better fuel economy than that. So our RAV4, we kind of routinely get like 45 miles per gallon. I think it's rated at around 42. So, overall, slightly worse fuel economy than the RAV4 if that's your main focus, just due to the way Honda has done this hybrid system. But overall, it's still very good fuel economy compared to most of the rivals.
Now let's wrap up the drive with our slam dunk and airball. I will start with the slam dunk, and that's going to be how well the CR-V continues to nail the fundamentals. When you look at what are really the most important elements for, families and people buying these CR-Vs, it really just does a fantastic job. And that's something we noticed, is that it's just so easy to live with. Maybe it doesn't have the most pizzazz in the segment. Certainly it doesn't. But you can just really get into this and just be so comfortable and just really enjoy the drive.
Yeah. Now, on the flip side, the airball is going to be that lack of pizzazz. I think for the refresh, we were really hoping that Honda would add some of the highly requested features, things like a 360 camera, ventilated seats, panoramic moonroof, just to name a few. Those are all things that the RAV4 includes, and I think that's a lot of reasons why people choose the RAV4 over the CR-V. So I really wish Honda had added those things. And if you want to really learn all about the RAV4 versus CR-V, we do actually have a comparison on the channel where we compared the top end to the top end, so you can check that out and kind of make your final determination on to which one is the best option for you.
Now let's talk about pricing. So we start at $31,000 for the LX trim level. You can see the full lineup of trims on the screen right now. It does elevate quite a bit. If you want this sport touring model, which comes standard with all-wheel drive, $42,250 is your base price. After you add in destination charge as well as a few options, you're sitting around $44,500, which is slightly less fully loaded compared to the fully loaded RAV4s, but it's still going to be a pretty pricey option in the segment. If you're looking to buy a Honda CR-V or any vehicle, we'd encourage you to check out carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use if you plan on doing dealership negotiation. You can find a link to that down below in our video description, as well as a pinned comment, and there's even things like a monthly payment calculator on there that you might find useful. And this vehicle is manufactured in the US, it's manufactured in Ohio. And what about Honda's resale reliability and warranty?
First up, let's talk about resale value. Honda as a brand is rated at 64.8% of estimated retained value after 5 years and 60,000 miles, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 34.34%. Now, it's worth noting that is actually the #1 brand when it comes to resale value across every vehicle make in the 5-year metric, so it's really exceptionally good resale value for this segment.
Now, the same can also be said about reliability. We have the combined reliability index, and with the latest data, Honda is one of the top-rated brands for reliability and, of course, overall above the industry average.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our reliability and resale values, you can find that at carconfections.com. And when it comes to your warranty, you have a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain, and you do also get 1 year and 12,000 miles of complimentary maintenance.
And guys, that wraps up our week-long review of the 2026 refreshed Honda CR-V Sport Touring. If you enjoyed our comparisons to our very own RAV4, we'd really appreciate you subscribing down below and becoming a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and we strive to keep you all updated with the latest and greatest content. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.